felt a sudden burst of inspiration, a melody, an idea, a story, a vision, and wondered where it came from? The ancient Greeks believed that inspiration wasn't random, it was a visitation, a whisper, a divine spark, and they personified these sparks as the Muses. Welcome back to Ancient Awakening with Kastalia. I am Kastalia, and today we're diving into the spiritual metaphors hidden inside Greek mythology, as we do every week. This week, we will be diving into the story of the Muses, the 9 daughters of Memory and Zeus. In mythology, they inspire artists, poets, musicians, and thinkers. But spiritually, they reveal something deeper about the soul's own source of inspiration. So before we dive further into the theme for this week's episode, let us review the journal prompts from last week. I'm going to read all of the journal prompts that we had last week and give a brief overall summary of my response to these prompts. So first was, which generational patterns am I consciously choosing to end? Second was, where do I still act from fear rather than wisdom? Third is, what part of my lineage wants to be integrated rather than rejected? 4, how can I embody Athena's clarity and sovereignty in my daily life? And 5, what new cycles am I choosing to begin for myself and those who come after me? Now, if you missed last week's episode was about Athena breaking cycles, so that will be linked here so you can go check that out if you have not watched that already, because that was a very exciting and inspiring episode about cycle breaking and the concept of it's ending with me. So in general, a summary of my response to these prompts is a generational cycle that I'm working to break would be the paranoia cycle. I am sure other people experience this as well, but there are definitely a lot of people in my lineage, specifically on my estranged paternal side, where their paranoia resulted in them controlling other people and overall just not treating family members very nicely. This paranoia need to control. So I try to break this, and consciously in my own life, when any moment that I feel paranoid or overwhelmed in a situation that's out of my control, I just try to refocus back on what I can control, on my breath, on myself. A lot of times I'll write, actually, and try and get my thoughts out, because a lot of times when paranoia is so stuck in your head, if you leave it in your head, it's going to spiral, but if you put it out on paper, you can kind of make more logical sense of it. And this is a situation where, in general, I know that it's more fear controlling over wisdom, so it's in the sense that I would try to find wisdom in this situation. So if I'm feeling paranoid that, let's say a car crash is going to happen or something while I'm driving, and I just try to bring logic to the situation. Well, I know I'm a good driver. I have to trust the other people as well, and a lot of it goes down to trust, and there is a wisdom with just trusting and trusting that you're protected. And those things that are completely out of your control, if you're so focused on preventing those things, you might actually end up making those things happen, which is a cycle that we have seen in mythology. We have seen it in Zeus, well, specifically Kronos, trying to prevent something from happening. He ended up causing it to happen. So we cannot prevent things by trying to control the outcome of a situation. We have to allow free will. So I think a part of my lineage that wants to be integrated rather than rejected would be from my maternal side. There is not necessarily like a cycle or a pattern, but just kind of this tradition that I know that my great-grandmother, my grandfather had of, the healing things, the removing the evil eye, the healings, these sorts of things that can help people reclaim their energy. And I feel like that's something that was shamed a lot, especially when you consider people are scared of things they don't understand. And if they don't understand, energy at all, someone trying to cleanse energy or offer healing or remove the evil eye, that can sometimes be scary to an outside perspective when they don't understand it. And so to integrate the things that are positive, that are helpful, that just some people are afraid of because they don't understand it, doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. How can I embody Athena's clarity and sovereignty in my daily life was one that I pondered a lot, and I think that the best way to do that is the practices that I do when I feel paranoid or overwhelmed in situations that are completely out of my control. Just keep those practices up. Like I said, when you try and put it down, like when I try to write down what I'm feeling and I can read it, I can bring wisdom to the situation and transmute it and move forward with clarity. And a new cycle I am beginning for myself and those who come after me is this cycle here, this podcast. This is sharing and uncovering the things that bring your soul inspiration, sharing and uncovering, the things that we dismiss as meaningless, but they're actually meaningful. That being said, speaking of inspiration, in ancient Greece, inspiration was seen as something, it wasn't seen as something you came up with, it was something that came to you. The Muses weren't just characters, they were categories of soul inspiration. Each muse represented a different way the soul expresses itself. Today I want to explore how these 9 archetypes still live inside of all of us, and how recognizing them can help you understand your own spiritual gifts, creative impulses, and intuitive downloads. So, first and foremost, the backstory of the Muses. Muses are daughters of Menosme, which is also known as Memory, and also Zeus. Menosme was the titaness of memory. So she was from the the pantheon before the Olympians, and she was a wife of Zeus. Before he inevitably ended up marrying Hera, he had multiple other wives. And they came together to create the Muses. So the symbolism that there's a lot of symbolism in the Muses in general, but also in memory and the tightness of memory, that we seek to remember and honor the past. This is a very common theme across all cultures, is this honoring and remembering of the past, and having someone to pass down those memories, those wisdoms. And also a big theme to create memories. We constantly thrive and live to create memories with people, to live in the moments that this moment will become a cherished memory. So memory is very important to understanding your soul's inspiration. So it symbolizes that inspiration comes from remembering who you truly are. The Muses are also known as companions of Apollo, which is the god of so many things, but harmony and clarity among the many things that he represents. Like Athena, he represents a lot of things. Inspiration aligns you with your inner truth. They each govern a different art or domain, the Muses, and the soul expresses itself through many channels, not just one. So there are 9 different things that we can attribute to ways that our soul expresses itself, but there is obviously one that resonates more so than others. So one thing I want to invite you to do is to think of the Muses as 9 doorways into your spiritual understanding of your inner creativity, inspiration, and innovative thoughts. So each muse can be a metaphor for a specific type of inner calling or intuitive spark. So let's talk about this. The first muse that we know of is Calliope, who she works with epic poetry. So epic poetry as in the Odyssey, for example. It is the storyteller of your life, the voice of destiny. Then we know of Cleo, and Cleo works with history, the wisdom keeper, the part of you that learns from the past lives or patterns, your past in this life, the part of you that learns from history to help inspire your future and help you live in the present. And so it makes sense that there would be one of history, one of the past, because of the mother being memory. Erota is love poetry, the heart-led creator, inspiration through emotion and connection. Next we have F3P, which she works with music, the harmonizer, inspiration through rhythm, flow, and energy. Then we have Melopini. Melopini is tragedy. She is the shadow alchemist. The tragic plays. Like I would say, Oedipus is a tragedy. So transforming pain into meaning. After her we have Polyhymena. Polyhymena is the hymns, kind of in the name, pick the hymns. So hymns obviously were used a lot like musically for a lot of like religious expressions, and it's still the term that is used for some religious prayers, like the hymns in the Greek Orthodox Church as well, still the term being used for those songs. So it is a deeper spiritual meditative music. So the mystic inspiration through devotion, meditation, and spiritual depth using sound. After her we have Terpsichore. Terpsichore is dance. So the embodied soul inspiration through movement and intuition. Then we have Thalia, not to be confused with the Thalia that is in the Graces. I feel like this is a common name used. I could not find any connection between the two. I think they're just two separate things, two separate entities, two separate archetypes, but at the same time they represent similar things, so not quite sure, but they are, described as separate things, but they would be sisters through Zeus, technically. So she is comedy. She is the light bringer, inspiration through joy, play, and perspective shifts. And lastly, Urania, astronomy, the cosmic thinker, inspiration through higher knowledge and universal truth, connecting to the stars, astrology, astronomy, everything in the celestial realm. So these are not just mythological figures. As you can see, they represent archetypes. They can represent inner voices, inner movements, inner currents. Each muse represents a way your soul tries to express itself. And this can be true. We can try to express ourselves through deep poetry like the Odyssey. That's like deep, deep writing, deep creation, through understanding and reflecting on history. That's kind of what I'm doing now, is reflecting on history and figuring out what lessons it has to help us in the present moment, through love expression, of course, through also tragedy expression, that is shadow work, that is understanding the tragedies of your life and of others, and how can we reconstitute that? How can we integrate the lessons learned and let go of the pain? Then you have the hymns, that healing music, dancing, get your body moving. This is a way your soul can express itself, through that creativity of connecting to your physical body system and connecting to the earth and connecting to everything around you. Then comedy, that's joy, that's happiness, that's things that make people laugh from the depths of their inner child. And then astronomy, connecting to the celestial world, connecting to the universe, to the cosmos. This is understanding the planetary influence on our physical incarnation, but also knowing that our souls come from the celestial veil beyond. So next I want to talk about the mythical examples of the muses showing someone their soul's inspiration. So the first one is Homer and the invocation of the muse. The archetype activated is Calliope, the storyteller of destiny and that of epic poetry. So in both the Iliad and the Odyssey, Homer begins with, "Sing to me, O muse." And one of the muses, Calliope, is the muse of epic poetry. This wasn't poetic flair, potentially. It was a spiritual world view. Homer likely believed that epic truth didn't come from the mind alone, it came from the divine spark that moved through him. Homer's invocation shows that when we surrender to inspiration, to the muses, to the muse, we become vessels for something larger than ourselves. The muse becomes the bridge between the human storyteller and the soul's deeper wisdom. So this mythic moment teaches us that inspiration is a collaboration between the human and the divine. When we ask for guidance, our inner muse responds. As Calliope is the muse of epic poetry, and Homer's Odyssey and Iliad are two of the most iconic epic poems to ever come from the ancient world. I biasly say, as I do adore the Odyssey and Homer and the Iliad, but that can also be a truthful statement that it is something that we are still studying and understanding to this day. And the thing that I like about Homer and the invocation of the muse is that this is a poet who was alive in the ancient times. This isn't a myth. He's using it to tell stories of myth and legend, to tell the epic poems, but he was an actual person living in ancient Greece, starting his poetry, his epic poems with "Sing to me, O Muse." So they believed in the power of connecting to the muses and the gateway of spiritual inspiration that the muses could bring, of creative inspiration as well, and that there is a specific muse for the type of art that Homer was creating. The second example is Orpheus and the muse Euthrope. The muse Euthrope is the harmonizer, the musician of the soul. Orpheus, the great musician in Greek myth, was said to be the son of a muse, often Euthrope, or Calliope, depending on the tradition. His music could calm storms, charm animals, and soften the hearts of gods. But there is a deeper layer to this. His gift was not just a talent, it was something he inherited from the divine feminine, a soul inspiration from his muse mother. Orpheus shows us what happens when we follow the muse within us. Our gifts become transformative, not just expressive, and he shows this by using his gift to charm Hades so that his beloved could be free from the underworld. Yes, Orpheus does not, he does not succeed, is the best way to put it. Orpheus, what ends up happening is he gets what he wants. He uses his muse for love and poetry and song, and then while his beloved is following him out of the underworld, he turns back and looks at her, and he's not supposed to do that. So then he ends up mourning that loss again, and his tears and the music that came from that was also considered to be beautiful as well. So there was that pain turned into something beautiful. The story of Orpheus and his beloved is very unique, I would say, because he had like the purest intentions, but he had a paranoia, and that paranoia resulted in him losing what he wanted. It's truly one of the most tragic stories that does include the aspect of musicians, struggle with the shadow, and he descends into the underworld to reclaim the love that he's lost, but then because of fear, he loses it again. And there's like a lot of other things there, but his divine lyre, the musical instrument, charmed Hades and Persephone, who granted his plea with the condition that when he led Eurydice out of the underworld, his beloved, he did not look at her, but he does look at her, and that is very sad. But the act of using the muse within him to inspire other people, to including Hades, to inspire him to give another chance at life to the one that he loves, is something beautiful. That also a deep aspect of our spiritual inspiration, our soul inspiration, is to help those that we love, and to help them, and to inspire love in others as well, inspire them to see the beauty of divine love. Now there was a little bit of fear, but that fear that Orpheus felt was not in regards to his beloved, but in trusting Hades. So the true divine love is there. Following that, we have Hestoid's initiation on Mount Helicon. So all 9 muses are present in this myth, and they are representing the awakening of purpose. Hesiod, one of the earliest Greek poets, describes a mystical encounter. While tending sheep on Mount Helicon, the muses appeared to him, gave him a laurel staff, and commanded him to sing of the gods. So this is a classic spiritual initiation. A normal shepherd is suddenly called into his soul purpose by all the muses, not just one. They're all, and we can connect. You can connect to all of them and see what happens when you do that. I think that's the inevitable goal, is to step by step connect to all of them to truly activate that deep soul inspiration, to truly be on purpose. The muses, they didn't just inspire him; they called him. They called him to answer a call within. They activated what was already within him. They awakened dormant gifts and redirected a person's life path. So he took this, mythical encounter as his inspiration to create. So Hesiod's story reminds us that inspiration often arrives as a calling. The soul whispers, the muse appears, and suddenly your life takes a new direction. The final story I want to share, a mythical example, is Pythagoras and the muse Polyhemena. Pythagoras and the muse Polyhemena. Polyhemena is the mystic and contemplative voice. Some traditions suggest that Pythagoras received his understanding of cosmic harmony through the muse Polyhemena. This then would say that his philosophy of the music of the spheres came from the universe's divine frequency, came from the idea that the universe has a divine frequency that he received from the muse Polyhemena. That is pure muse energy. So inspiration can come through silence, meditation, and inner listening. It's likely that while he was trying to figure out all of these theories and he's trying to connect within, that he hears the hymns of the universe and connects to that aspect of the doors into your soul's inspiration. So that one I always found fascinating, that examples that also show that people alive during the ancient times report being visited or have elements of the muses with them in the things that they create to help humanity. Homer, Hesiod, and Pythagoras, things that they have to help us evolve and ascend to a different level of consciousness while in the physical. So this is something I felt like I wanted to understand what specific lesson that each archetype would want to teach or what they represent. So I feel like there are times in our lives where we're a little bit lost when it comes to understanding our soul's inspiration. So I compiled 9 questions, 9 little reflections, to help us kind of give direction to the inspiration. So if you feel like there is a story wanting to be told, that's connecting to epic poetry. So if you feel like you have this story that needs to be told, try to think of it through the lens of the Odyssey, through the epic poets, through the Iliads, and think, how can I create something extraordinary with the story that is in my heart, in my soul? If you feel like you're at a period of your life where you are learning lessons and insights and you want to uncover more, you want to understand more, that's the history aspect. So diving into that understanding. If you feel like this kind of like emotional jumbled mess when you try and connect to your soul's inspiration, tap into love, tap into your heart, tap into your emotions, understand them. If you are feeling like the only time you feel inspired is when there is rhythm around you and there is music around you, then connect to that. Connect to that music. Connect to simply music, which is one of, obviously, the Muses is simply the harmonizer. So connecting to, you finding your inner harmony through the harmony of music. Right? Then healing pain. If you feel like you're at the phase where your soul's current inspiration is to heal the pain, then you do that. You heal the pain. You work on the shadow. That could be your soul's inspiration, is to understand the shadow. First, that could be the first thing that you were meant to do. It could be something that you pause in the middle of what you're doing to understand that. If you are feeling like you can't focus on anything and you just want to take a few deep breaths and just clear your mind, that's meditation. So that's where you can connect to healing music. Different than like music for, inspiration and creativity. Healing music is the music that brings soothing to the soul. And if you feel like, you only feel inspired when you're moving your body, when you're physically active, when you're actually tangibly doing something. Like for a while, I couldn't do meditations because I felt like I needed to do yoga. So I would do yoga meditations so I could have my body moving. And sometimes I do like sort of dancing meditations where I will allow the cleansing music, the hymns, the healing music to guide me and just move. And like in a way like yoga, stretch and move and allow the body to feel free. Because the soul in the body can sometimes feel trapped. So when you allow the body to feel free, the soul can feel more free. And then you can get clarity on like, what is that soul inspiration? What is that calling? If you feel like you understand yourself more through laughter, then that's seeking spiritual inspiration. And when you seek that, and that's different than your soul's inspiration, and spiritual joy, spiritual joy is seeking spiritual joy, which is different than your soul's inspiration. Spiritual joy is the joy that makes your soul sing, and that feeling can then lead you to your soul's inspiration. Lastly, if you feel like when you are connecting to the cosmos, when you are understanding the stars, when you're working with astrology or whatever it is, that you feel your soul's on fire, then that's that cosmic curiosity that might be your soul's inspiration. So you can find your soul's inspiration through these 9 muses that would inspire you to figure out what makes your soul sing. Now, your soul's inspiration is also related to your purpose and your missions in this lifetime. So you can understand like really what you're here to do. And what you're here to do truly is to be living a life that invigorates and inspires your soul. So your soul speaks in many languages. The muses help you recognize which one is speaking. So, that being said, when you understand what muse type you're working with, are you working with the history, are you working with the hymns, you understand how your intuition naturally flows. Because if it's through diving into the insights of the past to heal the present and inspire the future, then this is kind of like how your intuition works. Your intuition will work by trying to understand the past influence on the present. If you work through music, then your intuition might be coming to you through music, so you might get answers through music. Or it just helps you understand the way that you flow in the universe and the way that the universe will communicate to you. So then you stop forcing inspiration and start listening to it when you understand where you feel resonance more. And this can then help you, hopefully, stop comparing your gifts to others and start honoring your own soul blueprint. So soul blueprint is basically the kind of, I don't want to say like layout, but I guess layout's the only word that I can think of kind of where your soul is being called towards for the work that it's meant to do in this lifetime. So when you understand that there are so many ways that, you know, your soul's inspiration can communicate to you, and then through that there's like more than 9, because that's like the 9 like gateways in. From there, there's more potential to understand like how to get to the specifics. So it's like getting your body moving might not necessarily be dancing. It can be building something. It can be creating something. It's moving, right? So there's so many different layers to it, but you have those like 9 gateways in that can help kind of direct focus on where your soul is calling you, and where your soul is calling you is going to inevitably be different than somebody else, and you only want to be following where your soul is calling you so that you feel more alive and more on purpose, because you're never going to feel like you are living if you are following someone else's blueprint. Right? So, one thing that I suggest is journaling is a great way, like I had mentioned at the beginning when we were talking about the journal prompts. That's why I include journal prompts in these videos at the end, to continue the inspiration that we have created together. Continue that momentum. Because when you put something down on paper, you can allow wisdom through and fear can dissipate. So and I've done this where it's like, what do I want to do? Like, what do I need to do next? And I'm writing down all the things I'm overwhelmed about, and when I read it back, I can actually bring logic to it. Okay, so this is just like a fear, this is a nothingness. This is actually a great idea. I think I'm going to go with this. And you can allow yourself to see it from a more objective perspective when it's out of your head and on paper, and then that can help you understand which one of like the muses, for example, is what triggers the gateway of inspiration. So that being said, that is the spiritual implication of the muses, is to invite you to reflect in yourself what brings you joy, what resonates with you, that will ultimately follow the inspiration of your soul. So ancient Greeks externalized these forces, these energies and archetypes as goddesses, but we can internalize them as part of the soul. So we can take, not necessarily like the names, Cleo and Calliope, and like we're going to take this in and take that as an identity. No, what it is taking on this, like, I can create from my heart this epic story, this epic poetry, this epic expression of my heart's song. And I can take the lessons learned from in history when someone expressed. You know, there is so much more expression of true depth in poetry, in art, in writing, in creativity in the past. And truthfully, it's because we were bored. Humanity was bored. So in boredom, you actually create. So allow yourself to be bored. We have so much, and I am guilty of this as well, we have so much technology in our face. When we are bored, we can just pull and scroll and consume and consume and consume. When are we creating? Are we creating just because we're consuming? Allow yourself to be bored. That's like, when you are bored, that's when the muses come to you, right? When I'm sitting and I'm completely bored and I try to put my phone away, a lot of times that I'm hit with what if the Cyclopses actually represent a blocked third eye? That's interesting. Let me add that to the cup. I actually don't know if I've added it to the cup recently, but I feel like it's in there. But I think about this a lot, and I don't know if I fully added it to the cup because I think I still need to think about it more. But I think about this a lot. When I'm bored, I think a lot about the Cyclops' spiritual symbolism. But if I'm just sitting in the boredom as well, it's like, okay, let me find another muse example, right? So that would be history. Then music, then sometimes a song I have not heard. I had this happen to me the other night. I was just sitting in boredom, and a song I have not heard in forever just started playing in my mind. I'm like, why did this song come right now in my mind? Let me investigate that. So sitting in the boredom allows the muses to find you and not like the actual personified Greek mythology goddess of the muse, but like the muse of love poetry or healing music, the hymns, like to find you when you're in that boredom and when you're open and you're looking for something to invigorate your zest for life and to make you feel purposeful. And that can call you to create. And that's why there was so much creativity back then, to have all of these archetypes and myths and to have metaphors. When I'm really bored, really bored, I start creating stories that I don't think will reach the public maybe one day, but I start writing a story. And I have this like ongoing 2 stories that I keep going back to and working and writing on when I'm like really bored and I don't know what to do, and I just feel like I need to feel active and purposeful. Maybe one day they will reach the public eye, but in those stories I am creating hidden metaphors, I'm creating meanings, I'm creating purpose. So if I'm doing that now, of course they were doing that then, right? So how can we learn from the collective ancestors to, in a sense, live as they did when it came to creative inspiration, when it came to feeling purposeful, feeling like you are making an impact, and your impact could be a poem, your impact could be a dance, your impact could be something that gets people to disconnect from the digital technology reality, in the sense that it is like overly controlling and taking away the ability to be bored, and then understanding from that boredom what your soul calling is. Anything that brings people back to their soul, brings people back to their body, that freedom to move, to feel inspired, right? So this is where I will conclude. So I want to invite you to think, the next time inspiration hits you, remember, you're not imagining it, you're remembering. The Muses are the daughters of memory. And so they're coming, symbolically, these things are coming to remind you of your soul's calling. You are remembering, you are reconnecting. When the divine spark inside of you awakens in those moments of boredom and trying to understand, maybe you just like put on a song and you try dancing, and suddenly from there something flows, something expands, and you're open to a whole new realm of possibilities and opportunities. That's kind of, the Muses is reminding you of your unlimited potential. And that being said, let's do the affirmations. So the affirmations to connect to the Muses, and to help you connect to really what they represent, of the gateways to your soul inspiration, the different methods that you can find clarity through. First, I trust the divine spark within me and allow inspiration to flow through me with ease. My soul expresses itself in many forms, and each one is sacred. I honor the stories, emotions, wisdom, and creativity that move through me. I am guided by inner harmony, intuition, and the whisper of my muse. Every creative impulse is a reminder of who I am. So remember, nowadays, we use the word muse as inspiration, as this is my muse to create something. This is my muse for art. This is my muse for a song. This is my inspiration. So that's how we are using the word now. And back then, symbolically, what the stories of the Muses were sharing with us all, we are using the word muse interchangeably with inspiration, but to be a bigger inspiration. So a soul inspiration, like the muse, it activates something in your soul. Like when sometimes I go to do photography, and my muse could be a cat. It happens. So I find a cat walking and I had this happen one time. It was this beautiful like kitten, and it was black, but with the sun it had a little auburn, and it was walking in like a little meadowed area by the sea, and there were bindweed flowers all around, and I just saw like, this is my muse. It made something in my soul sing, and I started observing it, and I started taking note of it and taking photos of it and taking videos of it and just watching it in its natural environment, but like doing that pause to understand. And that was in a sense through, I would say, a type of cosmic curiosity, but more like earthly. I honestly think it was through emotion that I was feeling, that kind of like love poetry. I was like, I could write poems about this, I could write stories about this. It's just a beautiful moment of appreciation. And that's, love poetry isn't necessarily romantic, even though erotza, like the word now in modern Greek, is used for more like romantic senses. But I would say that the muse of love is more than just romantic. It's like, I was falling in love with the beauty of this cat in its natural environment. So that's, a way that you can remember that anything that inspires you is your muse, and from there, that's the gateway to understanding your soul's inspiration. Obviously, we need some journal prompts to help us understand our gateway to our soul's inspiration. So meet your inner muse. Meet the inspiration of your soul. Which muse archetype resonates most with my current season of life, and why? When do I feel the strongest sense of inspiration or intuitive flow? What does it feel like in my body? What creative or spiritual expressions have I been ignoring or suppressing, and what might happen if I welcome them? How has inspiration shown up for me in the past through emotion, story, movement, insight, or something else? If I imagine my inner muse as a guide or presence, what message would she want to share with me today? So, that being said, thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this exploration of Greek mythology and spiritual symbolism, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs a little inspiration today. And next week, we are going to be talking about, let us see, Power of Hope, Story of Pandora's Box. So let me know if you're excited to hear about this, because I have been excited to dive into the spiritual implications of Pandora. And I feel like it's a little fitting, because after your soul's inspiration, you gotta have hope for accomplishing what you are called to do. So until then, continue seeking the ancient wisdom left before us by the ancient ones to activate and awaken your ancient wisdom.